Good evening, Risk Enjoyers. Hope you're alright, 'cause it's time for Profit Review. Last week we discussed the August 29, 2024 Rust Store, and that means today we're here to sit here and discuss the September 5 Rust Store. So sit back, relax, I'm going to start yapping. But before we do, I should probably explain what this video is about, because some of you might be sitting there and wondering, Profit Review? Well, what's he on about? Well, I'll explain. Basically, with every Rust Store that we have, I will return to it 4 weeks later and just see how everything turned out. Did everything match up to expectations? Were Hedge's predictions in terms of the investments, were they correct? And if they weren't, you can hold me accountable. I'll have to sit here and explain what went wrong if things didn't match up to what we thought was going to happen. So let's jump in now and talk about my initial reaction when I first saw this Rust Store. And lo and behold, Black Diamond Tier 2 was accepted literally the week after we saw the likes of Commando Hoodie and Pants being accepted. So it was basically the same thing all over again. Commando Tier 3 gets accepted, very interesting, and then just literally just a bit afterwards, then we get more Black Diamond skins. So, okay, cool. Not going to complain too much. But funnily enough, right, for the likes of the August Force Wipe, we have the Black Diamond Tier 3 being accepted. For the September Force Wipe Rust Store, we have the Black Diamond Tier 2 being accepted. That gets me thinking. I wonder what might potentially happen the next month. And yeah, I was basically thinking about that. Couldn't help but assume potentially there's a decent chance we'll be seeing some more continuations down the line. So, alright, that was pretty cool. A nice continuation for a fairly in-demand collection. And then, of course, the Ultramarine Furnace. That's nice to see. Another Ultramarine skin being accepted. So, after a bit of a break, we did get the likes of even more deplorable skins being accepted. So potentially in the future, maybe we'll see some more. Okay, that's nice to consider. And then I look and see, what, even more Heavy Knight skins being accepted? Wow. So that basically took the spot of what Ultramarine was having. This was the 4th batch of skins to be accepted for Heavy Knight. Was it going to continue, or much like Ultramarine, or was it going to stop after 4? We did have to question that. And then we see a pretty interesting looking garage door over here. Very grounded in its approach. Very grounded in its design, but obviously it was referencing the actual garage doors that we see in game. So, alright, cool. Maybe that might get appreciated, or maybe like most garage doors up to this point, it was very likely just going to go down in price. Because I have to reiterate this, we were only seeing more and more and more and more garage doors being accepted with every single Rust door, basically, including with the likes of Twitch drops and whatnot. I was definitely losing faith with the likes of garage doors as investments, and I wasn't feeling that confident. And then we have a Steampunk AK-47, a perfectly fine AK-47, but it was another $3 AK. And throughout all of 2024, we've had several very interesting looking, fairly expensive AKs, so ones that sold at least for $3 in the Rust Store. But I was like, is that going to end up like all the other ones? What do you mean? Well, basically, if you're to take a look at all the AKs at this specific point in time, during the beginning of the September 2024, yeah, they were all down in price, all down to around and less than $1. All the AKs that sold for around $3, except the likes of the Thunder Gold AK-47 and the Black Diamond AK-47. So I was a bit, so you know, AK-47 skins as investments in general, not exactly something I'm super confident in. Alright, so that was the initial reaction, and by the way, only 8 skins, but when you compare to like the previous week, we did have a lot of skins accepted the previous week, so I guess it evens out. Alright, cool. So let's now talk about what I was looking at and thinking was going to be a very nice investment. So if I could just quickly hop over to here, here's the Rust Store investing predictions for September 5, 2024, and I can confirm that initially I was like, guys, we're now entering the bad times. It was September, the beginning of September. Over the course of the next few months, it was expected that during the likes of September, October, November, most skins in general were going to go down in price. Literally, just this past summer, the summer of 2024, absolutely amazing for our skins. So many nice price increases, so much profit was made, but of course we had to go through the likes of a dip. It's normal, it's expected. Kids were to go back to school, less people playing the game, less demand for skins, and well, lower skin prices. So we knew this was going to happen. I was yapping about it non-stop. So, okay, we expected and accepted that, but still, Black Diamond Tier 2, as I said, with the likes of the Tier 3 armor being accepted on the likes of the August Force Wipe, with the likes of the Tier 2 being accepted for the September Force Wipe, surely, maybe, possibly, we'll be seeing the likes of Hoodie and Pants for the October Force Wipe, right? So I felt reasonably optimistic. I was looking at the likes of the Black Diamond Tier 2 and thinking that's probably the best thing to consider investing into. Then looking at the likes of the other skins, I did have to kind of sit there and consider maybe Heavy Knight would be pretty okay. Like by default, boots and gloves that are attributed or part of a collection that's at the very least, mostly complete, they tend to work out quite alright. But there's one problem. The most recent submission for likes of Heavy Knight was Tier 2. And just to point this out, with the likes of Black Diamond being accepted for the September Force-Wipe Rustore, it was actually competing with the likes of Heavy Knight Tier 2 and Commando Tier 2. But Black Diamond, well, won, so there you go. But would we see the likes of Heavy Knight Tier 2 later on? Would that potentially happen the very next week? Was it going to get 5 skins accepted in a row? I wasn't really 100% sure, but I know boots and gloves tend to work out quite alright, so as long as there's other clothing and armour pieces within the collection. So I was reasonably optimistic, but those boots and gloves, they weren't abnormal. So we had to quite literally look at them on Wednesday and then make a decision. So, alright, fair enough, that's fine. And then I looked at the Ultramarine furnace. I thought, well, most furnaces up to this point in September time, they weren't exactly holding up very well. They weren't exactly looking very good. We had a lot of furnace skins being accepted, but only one of them was in the positive, and I just wasn't 100% sure. But Ultramarine collection, with so many acceptances and potentially more on the horizon, surely that furnace in particular might work out quite alright. Well, we'll consider it, but we'd rather wait until we did the abnormal barders. And then, of course, I looked at the remaining skins. Water treatment garage door. It was the first garage door, as of September, the first garage door to sell for the standard price that a garage door would sell for, $1.49. And even then, I just really didn't think it was going to retain that much interest, even at a fairly cheap price, considering all the other garage doors this year sold for at least $2 and more. Yeah, I just didn't have that much faith. Interesting, grounded approach, but unfortunately, nah, sorry. And then it came to likes the Steampunk AK-47. I already brought up the issue that I had with it. Unfortunately, with the likes of AK-47s that sold at a higher price, they just, unfortunately, inevitably, went all the way down to around $1. And I was just like, I think I'm just going to stick with doing 60 cents to 80 cents as a buy order. Well, we'll see how that turned out. So now I'm going to hop over to here and bring up the likes of the first 24 hours of sales. And things were okay. Black Diamond Tier 2, with the amount of sales that we were seeing, it was kind of matching up quite nicely compared to likes of the Tier 3 armour. It did look like the kilt potentially was going to sell a little bit more. That's what initially looked like was going to happen. But I was remembering with the likes of Black Gold collection, how the kilt sold just a little bit more compared to all the other armour pieces. But it doesn't matter. The kilt is our only leg armour. It's the most valuable by default. And when you look at the likes of the Black Gold collection, with the kilt being the most bought skin out of all the clothing and armour pieces, it was still the most expensive. So I just couldn't help but assume it was going to be a Black Gold type of situation. It was still looking very appealing. The skins looked like they were selling okay. Didn't look like there was a problem there. That was some nice optimism. Then I look at the likes of the Ultramarine Furnace. That also looked like it was selling quite alright. Obviously a little bit less compared to the likes of Black Diamond. But it wasn't exactly like selling excessively, but still quite a fair bit more compared to other furnaces up to this point in the year. So I was like, hang on a minute, that might be a bit of a problem. But again, would the Ultramarine collection still give it a nice boost? Would it help it maintain interest? People maintain interest in this and whatnot. We'll have to see. And then, of course, the likes of the Heavy Knight boots and gloves, they were actually selling just a little bit more compared to what we saw the previous week's skins. Tier 3 armour, the hoodie and pants, they were selling a little bit too much. And that was a bit concerning. Now, the very good reason as to why this potentially was happening, because, well, they're selling at 99 cents each. If you can recall, with the previous weeks, we saw the likes of Heavy Knight. They were selling at least like $2 there, $2 there. And was the hoodie and pants the same? Yeah, they're selling at $2 each. But the boots and gloves are only selling at 99 cents each. So that shouldn't be too surprising, I guess you could say. All right, then. So hopping back over to the likes of here, it was looking a little bit iffy, and that was making me lose confidence in these two skins as investments. And I'll hop over to here and look at like the water treatment garage door. Quite surprising to see that was also selling very nicely. I really didn't think it was going to get that much interest. I guess a fairly decent amount of people like the design. All right, fair enough. And I do believe by the time that we had the weekend passed, there was actually like a double door that was produced as a continuation for this. Maybe some people were curious. Yeah, well, you know. And then the AK-47 really wasn't selling that much. Well, when you compare it to like all of these other skins here, yeah, it did like quite a fair bit less compared to all the others. But not necessarily like hardly anything, but still, I really didn't have that much faith in it. So now we shall go ahead and talk about the likes of the abnormal barders now, and bring up the prices that I suggested when I was looking at all the skins. So if I can recall, SCMM.app wasn't working very well at this point, but we could still look at the workshop pages to get the sub counts and whatnot. So looking at the likes of the Rust store back over to here, I looked at all of the skins and I could see that the Black Diamond Tier 2 basically was selling up to about 20,000 subscribers. More specifically, the kilt, it actually slowed down. It actually looked like the kilt was going to struggle to match up to the likes of the Black Diamond face mask. So if I could just quickly go over to here and point this out. Initially, I was a fair bit concerned about the kilt, but then finding out that the likes of the kilt wasn't really going to sell that much compared to like the actual highest selling skin out of all the clothing and armor. Like, okay, maybe the kilt's actually going to look a little bit better. I was thinking maybe that potentially might look to be a better investment right about now. So looking at the likes of the kilt more confidently compared to the other tier 2 pieces, because remember what I said, this is the only leg armor that we have. I was thinking, you know what? A price to offer for the likes of that, I'm going to offer between $1.20 to $1.70. And let me reiterate, that was in the Rust store for $1.99. I was going strong on it. I couldn't help but assume things were going to work out ever so nicely, and I was feeling optimistic in the future. We were definitely going to see the likes of more continuation. So, okay, cool. And then with the likes of the other tier 2 pieces, I did $1 to $1.50. I was like, you know what? I can see them dropping off a fair bit initially, so as long as we see those continuations, I still feel optimistic. I still feel like things are going to work out ever so nicely. So, yeah, my hands were up in the air. I was like, it should be all right. But you just got to survive the next month. And with many skin prices expected to go down during the likes of September into the likes of October, that could have been a bit of a problem. But that was what I was suggesting. I felt confident we were going to eventually see some more continuations. All right, cool. And then we can move on to talking about the likes of the Ultramarine Furnace. This was in the Rust store at $1.99. It was interesting. There was another continuation that was produced over the course of the weekend. I looked at it. It had sold a fairly decent amount. It was sitting at about 16,000 subscribers as of that night. And I was like, you know what? I can't help but assume the Ultramarine collection would do a decent job of helping the price stay up and whatnot. I went with $1 to $1.50, fairly close to its price. If it did drop off a fair bit initially, we could just remove the buy order, right? Remember, I do 2 buy orders. So, okay, we'll see how things turn out. Then I looked at the likes of the Steampunk AK-47, which was the only other remaining abnormal skin. And yeah, I just stuck with 60 cents to 80 cents. I really didn't have that much faith in it. It had just about almost 11,000 subscribers at that point, but even then, I just had little to no faith. So I just went with the safest option, 60 cents to 80 cents. Right then. So with the remaining other skins, the regular skins, the skins that would only become marketable when the Rust rotated, Heavy Knight, road sign gloves and boots, they had sold too much compared to the likes of the tier 3 and the hoodie and pants. They didn't sell more than compared to the likes of the jacket, but I cared more about the likes of the core pieces. So I was concerned, and I looked at both of them and I thought, you know what, I'm probably just going to do 70 cents to 80 cents. I was optimistic to a point that we'd still see the likes of more Heavy Knight skins being produced and accepted in the future, but would it happen? So I went with a lower price compared to the Rust store price, but was it too high? Ooh. And then the water treatment garage door, I looked at it and I went with 70 cents to $1. I thought it just really doesn't feel like it's going to get that much interest, or rather it would do a decent enough job to maintain interest after it's been, put onto the Steam market and whatnot, and the Rust stores left and whatnot. So yeah, I really didn't feel that confident in it, just straight up, sorry to say. Appearances definitely are a big factor, and I couldn't help but assume a lot of people just sit there and say, well, there's a very cool looking Twitch drop that's about to come out, or there's a very cool brand new garage door that came out, because it really did become a bit of a problem at this point in the year, where it was like, how many garage doors have we had accepted? And then you look at all of them and you realise basically every single one of them was in the negative at this point. So I just had no faith in it, sorry to say. Right then, so with everything all said and done, talking about the likes of the prices. Oh yeah, 70 cents, $1. I said that already, yeah. I can now sit here and discuss how did everything turn out. Black Diamond collection did in fact get more collection continuations. Now, if I can recall, we did get the likes of boots and gloves being submitted, like the very next week, which took me by surprise. I was like, oh, is that actually going to happen? Well, the boots and gloves weren't exactly fully accepted. No boots. But we did get a very weird rust store where we saw the likes of the road sign gloves and a SAP being accepted in the same rust store. Okay, all right, well, that happened with the very last rust store of September. And if you can remember what I said, I was feeling very optimistic that for the October Foresight rust store, surely we'll see the likes of the hoodie and pants there. Yes, indeed. Seems that pattern did match up, but as of now, we're noticing a bit of a problem. It was very nice to see the likes of these being accepted and whatnot, but these are selling a little bit too much compared to the likes of this and this, yeah. Tier 2 and Tier 3 have sold between 18 to 20,000, but these are surpassing them, and it's still in a rust store for a few more days. Well, it is what it is. That's not a concern right about now. But with the brand new core piece being accepted, as you can see, Black Diamond coffee can, $4. Black Diamond road sign vest, $4. Black Diamond kilt, $3.37. Black Diamond chest plate, $3.54. Black Diamond face mask, $5.90. Oh yeah, that rose up in price ever so nicely. So that turned out greatly. Yeah, very nice. So during the course of the 4 weeks until we got to the point where we got the hoodie and pants, we did see these drop off a fair bit. It did happen. They didn't go super low, but they did drop off like a good 10, 20 cents at their lowest. But then eventually, what happened? Well, there you go. Things worked out beautifully. So with my price suggestions, I think we kind of worked out quite all right. I did buy a fairly decent amount of these kilts with my actual barter. Didn't actually make any straight purchases. I should clarify that. So with that, I did manage to pick up a few of buy orders, and I could flip them right now for a decent profit, but I'm not going to do that. Same thing can be said with the likes of these two. Bought a bunch of the coffee cans, bought a bunch of the vests, but hey, I think I want to hold on to them. I want to see how things look like around January time, post-Christmas. So I'm talking in regards to January 2025. There will be a lot of people returning to play. However, as of recent, with the likes of the October update, a lot of people have been playing. A lot of people have been playing because they love that brand new landscape. Like, the world update has been amazing, and lots of people are appreciating it right about now. So maybe we won't see that much of a big impact during the likes of January. I'm not sure. Maybe I'll sell half of my stock now just to be happy with some profit. All right, we'll see. But anyway, that worked out ever so nicely, and my approach with doing two boulders definitely helped me out. So if you manage to pick up any of these skins and make some decent profit, feel free to comment below. I'd love to hear it. Let's now move on and discuss the likes of the Ultramarine Furnace. And yeah, that worked out quite all right. Now, we did see another Ultramarine skin being accepted later down the line. We saw the likes of the Ultramarine Small Box being accepted at the end of the month. Cool, not going to complain. And as you can see, that's looking ever so nice. Now, many people might be questioning, why is the garage door down in price? Well, the garage door did about 30,000 subscribers, and then the second highest selling Ultramarine skin only did just about 20,000 subscribers. So don't be surprised by that. There's far too many. And also, how many garage doors have we had so far this year? Yeah, no, okay, cool. Right then. So yeah, as of now, most skins do appear to have reached their lowest point, and the Ultramarine collection doesn't even look like it was affected. Like, it doesn't even look like the autumn fall seasonal dip even like hurt it. Imagine what this is going to look like around January time. Imagine what this is going to look like during the likes of summer of 2025. I know it's quite a ways away, but I can't help but assume that's going to have a very fun future ahead of it. So if you haven't bought into these, maybe you might want to consider jumping onto them. And I will ask this, how many of you actually picked up Ultramarine Furnaces with your barders? Because I did. I bought about 30 of them. So what was the price suggestion again? $1 to $1.50. I bought so many of them between $1.40 and $1.50, but I was like, surely it's still going to work out right. Surely it's going to be A-OK. Now, it did drop in price initially, but then some people did jump in and buy out stock. That did happen. There's 30 of these on the Steam market. I got 30 of them that I bought with buy orders. If I can recall, I remember the Ultramarine Furnace only had about 10 quantity at one point. The sleeping bag only had about 10 quantity. The Ultramarine sheet on the door had dropped down in quantity quite a fair bit, so I can't remember the actual number. But main point is, this collection has held up strong. It has worked out ever so nicely. And yes, we did see a collection continuation appearing later down the line. So let's see how that works out in the further future. My barter suggestion worked out ever so nicely. And if I were to sell them now, I would make some, delicious profit. So if you made any delicious profit, feel free to comment below. Let's now move on to the next skins. These two right here. And lo and behold, they did suffer. I just could instantly tell things would go a little bit awry. So just to quickly point this out, 16,500 subscribers each, rounded up. So yeah, they did about that many sales. Tier 3 did about 13,000 subscribers. Hoodie and Pants, just over 13,000 subscribers each as well. There was too many of these in excess. And of course, we didn't see Tier 2 being accepted. In fact, there's a lot of interesting skins being produced for likes of this collection. No more acceptances. I'm not sure what's going to happen. I'm sure the skin creators will probably pump out a version 2 eventually, or a version 3 or version 4, eventually until they get accepted. We shall see. But yeah, unfortunately, they just sold too much. I could see that was happening, and I can confirm to you, I did suggest 70 cents to 80 cents. I did remove my buy orders on the likes of these two pretty quickly once I realised the prices were going down. There's quite a fair bit of them on the Steam market, but not like a ridiculous amount. 65 and 54. That's not too bad. These could easily rebound and go up in price in the future. We just need to see the likes of Tier 2. Okay, so in regards to my price suggestion, it went lower. So I will sit there and say I was wrong. But if you're like me, where you're constantly monitoring your buy orders, you wouldn't have suffered. Please keep an eye on your buy orders. But then again, at this specific time, right now, in early October, you probably don't need to worry too much about right now, but it still helps. So, all right, Heavy Knight, roadside gloves and boots, you didn't really work out very well. It's unfortunate. Maybe you might work out right in the future, but with my price suggestion, I was wrong there, and I'll accept that. Sorry about that. Right, then we can talk about water treatment door. You went down pretty bad. You're sitting there at 75 cents. It went down by 50%. I wasn't feeling very confident in it. I think I only did one buy order in this, and it was quite literally the 70-cent buy order. I ended up removing that. I just didn't really want to pick these up, because I kind of thought to myself, well, if I try and sell these, are they actually going to make that much profit? Is it going to be worth the effort? And after about almost 10 purchases, I was like, you know what? I don't actually want this. So I removed it. So right now, you can see it's sitting there at 75 cents. Now, I did suggest 70 cents to $1, but I will sit there and say it did drop down to a point where it's basically almost at the bare minimum, and I wouldn't really sit there and say that's a successful choice, correct number range, in the form of, if people bought these at $1, they've lost money. And I feel sorry about that. But if I can recall, I don't think that many people even put a buy order up to $1. I think it was basically looking like it was going to halve in price instantly. Yeah. So, all right, it is what it is. I will lean more towards, I don't really see this with me being fully correct. But you get the idea. So, all right, if you bought some of those, feel free to comment below. And then we could talk about the Steampunk AK-47. Oh, look, it went down to 86 cents. Yeah, so that was an inevitability. I'm not gloating about this, but this is something that just keeps happening. This isn't the last AK-47 to sell at $3. There's more coming. Oh yes, when we have the likes of more profit reviews down the line, there will be more, and they just keep going down to less than $1. There's just far too many AK-47s that exist. There's far too many to compare to, and with that, they struggle to maintain attention. And yeah, now there were the likes of more steampunk skins being produced and whatnot. They weren't accepted. It is what it is. So I did a fairly cheap buy order, and I still picked up a bunch of them, but it's basically sat in the range of what was expected. And yeah, I mean, yeah, that was correct. My choice of 60 cents to 80 cents was correct, and it's just like any other AK, I'm afraid. I do hope I can sell the ones I bought. We'll find out about that, won't we? So overall, fairly routine. It was a small rush store, and there wasn't really that much fuss. Now, that pattern there, that worked out ever so nicely. There isn't anything else to expect for the likes of Black Diamond. Maybe we'll see a jacket being produced for the likes of November Force White. We'll see. I'm sure something will be produced, but I fully expect more weapons of, what might that be? I don't know. What we're missing? Maybe a revolver, maybe a Python, maybe an L96. I do expect more. It's working out ever so nicely now, and if you happen to own any of the likes of these skins, have you sold them for some lovely profit? Just remember this. If the money's good to you now, take the money. Be happy. You may profit. Don't worry about if it goes up in price in the further future. You needed that money now, so yeah. And yeah, congratulations if you managed to buy the likes of the furnace as well. That worked out ever so nicely. So that's it. That's a wrap. Fairly routine Rust store. A little bit wrong here at the price. Very sorry about that. But now we can move over and look at the likes of next week. Any interesting things? Well, where did all the clothing and armour go? Yeah, bit odd. So yeah, I guess we'll be talking about that. And yeah, that's a wrap. So thank you very much for watching me. Feel free to comment as much as you like in regards to the amount of success you've had, or the bad stuff if you've made some losses. But I can only hope that all your investments work out ever so nicely. And hopefully, if we just hold it out for a few more months, we'll be able to flip our skins and sell them for some ever so lovely profit around January time when so many more people will be playing the game. And that's it. Thank you very much for watching me. Catch you later. See you. Goodbye.